Hi, fourth grade, and welcome back. Now that we've learned all of the regions, we're now going to start learning about westward expansion. Today's our intro and chapter 1 for westward expansion. Today, we're going to be learning about why people began moving to the west. The United States did not always used to be as populated as it is now, and when people came and settled, they settled on the East Coast. So we had to move all the way through, so even some of the people that started living in Kansas and all of those other western states. Today, we'll know we'll be successful when we can explain why colonists began to move westward throughout the United States. We have quite a few vocabulary words today. Our first word is colonies. These are places where groups of people came to settle that are under control of their home country. So the 13 original colonies were under the control of Great Britain, and we're going to talk about that. Our second word is migrated. So it's to move from one region into another. You might often hear about migration through animals, right? Such as birds when they migrate south for warmer weather. Our next word is frontier. This is the far edge of a country where few people live. Our next word is boundary. This is something that marks the edge or limit. And our last word is independence, freedom from being controlled by someone else. All right, we are going to go ahead and start off with our introduction video today over the westward expansion.
States grew from coast to coast in less than 100 years? Yes, the 13 British colonies that became the first states were all on the east coast of North America, but Americans were moving west even before independence. Leading the way were explorers like Daniel Boone, who blazed trails into Kentucky in 1767. By 1800, the young country stretched as far west as the Mississippi River. Then, 2 years later, the United States bought the Louisiana Territory from France. With this single purchase, the country doubled in size. Texas joined the Union in 1845, and war with Mexico brought California and most of the Southwest under the U.S. flag in 1848. As people moved into the new territories, Native Americans were pushed from their lands. They resisted, but they could not stop the flood of settlers. In 1890, the U.S. government declared the West was settled. The United States had grown into one of the world's largest nations, stretching from sea to shining sea. To find out more about westward,
we're going to go ahead and start reading the book. So today we are going to read chapter 1, and we're going to find the truth. So it says everything you are about to read is true except for one of the sentences on this page. So is it true that the Pony Express was in business for 5 years? Or is it true that between 1841 and 1860, about 300,000 people traveled west on the Oregon Trail? You can go ahead, think about it, take your pick, and throughout this book, we'll find out which one was our truth. Okay, chapter 1, A Growing Nation. The United States began as a group of 13 colonies that were ruled by Great Britain. The colonies were located along the East Coast and stretched from New Hampshire in the north to Georgia in the south. They extended as far as west as the Appalachian Mountains. Before the late 1700s, few colonists had traveled west of the Appalachians. 100 years later, the United States would extend west to the Pacific Ocean. And over here, down here, it says in 1700, there were about 250,000 people living in the colonies, and by 1775, there were 2.5 million people. That's a huge increase in people in just 75 years. And over here, you see a picture. It says in 1775, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania was the largest city in the American colonies. The expanding colonies. People from Europe migrated, so remember that's to move to the colonies, hoping to find better lives. Some came to escape war or poor living conditions in their homelands. Others wanted to be able to own land or to practice their religions freely. You know, in some of those other countries, they're told what to do, or maybe they aren't able to buy land. So being able to have those new opportunities might be the reason why some of them came over. Our caption here says the number of people who settled in the colonies grew quickly, as we just saw from that last page. The first frontier. As the number of people living in the colonies grew, cities and towns became crowded. By the mid-1700s, more living and farming space was needed, so people started spreading west toward the Appalachian Mountains. Native Americans lived in this area, but few other people had explored it. The Appalachians became the 13 colonies' first frontier. As the nation grew, its western boundary would be pushed farther and farther out. So here it says this map in the United States in the late 1700s shows the country's western boundary at the Mississippi River. So it would stop right here. So the United States used to have just this section of land, as you can see, like they talked about the original 13 colonies, and that doesn't even show Kansas yet. So you have to think about how much it has grown and expanded since then. A law for the land. Great Britain's government thought it would be hard to rule the colonists if they moved farther west. The British also wanted to prevent expensive wars with Native Americans who would defend their land from colonists moving into the Appalachians. In 1763, Great Britain passed a law called the Proclamation of 1763. The law said the colonists could not settle beyond the Appalachians. That land would be set aside for Native Americans. Okay, and up here it says Native Americans sometimes defended their lands by attacking people moving into the Appalachian Mountains. The proclamation angered the colonists. It was one of the many reasons why they fought the Revolutionary War against Great Britain, beginning in 1775. In 1776, the colonies announced their independence from Great Britain, becoming the United States of America. By 1783, the United States won the war. After the war, all the land west to the Mississippi River, north to Canada, and south to Florida belonged to the United States. So here the Revolutionary War began in 1775 and ended in 1783. So we fought this battle to be able to gain our own land and our own independence from Great Britain to where they couldn't tell us what we could or could not do. So your journal question for today is, how did the United States gain their freedom from Great Britain? Why did the United States want their independence? So think about the last few pages and read back if you need to. But as we began moving west and as we begin talking about it, it's a really big deal to understand why we understand having our independence from Great Britain. Good job today, fourth grade, and I can't wait to continue this journey of westward expansion with you. Bye.